If we were on the Traitors, how would you spell my name?
A-N-Z-Q-K-R-E.
I'd probably spell yours A-H-N-D-I.
Andy. I don't know whether that's more of an insult to the spelling standards of contestants on the Traitors,
which is bad most of the time.
Very bad.
Very
yes.
bad.
It's usually appalling.
Yes. But are you a traitor?
Yes, absolutely. Always, all the time.
Spoiler.
Well, that's what I do every night. Every night we go to bed. I get up again.
You traitoring me?
Yeah. I get up again and decide who from the household I'm going to murder. I'm not very good at my job because everyone's still alive. Every morning I get up and they're all still there. Claudia Winkleman and her extensive production team have not taken anyone away for the chop.
No, especially not her fringe.
No, especially not her fringe.
Oh, hello everybody. Welcome to Albumble.
Can you guess what's been on telly recently? Oh, it'd be that then.
Is it the Krypton Factor?
Yeah, it's
The Traitors is very much not the Krypton Factor.
No, this was recorded in 1987, just after we finished watching Gordon Burns.
And Granada Tonight. Or
yeah.
You didn't, because you didn't get Granada.
No, not Points West. What was the...
I don't know.
God, what was the HTV version called?
Westward Ho. No,
it might just have been called HTV News.
Oh, that was embarrassing. I suppose it was. Yeah.
Somebody on Blue Sky will know.
Yes,
I know that is a question I can ask on Blue Sky and have an answer within 30 seconds.
Yes.
But yes.
Yes, we're Albumble. We review the albums.
Are we now Albumble?
Yes.
We are.
We are grandmother.
We are Albumble.
Yes.
Join us.
We review albums. We didn't review the first time around. I'm Andy.
And no, you're not.
Oh shit. I'm Ann. Oh God, it's been a long day.
You're telling me it's been a long day.
I'm Ann.
And I overslept this morning. And
Yes.
I'm not.
Yes, we're going to review another EP that you chose for us.
Yeah.
We're a bit busy at the moment, folks. So we are still Albumble, but we are E-Pemble.
E-Pemble. E-Pemble. Ladies and gentlemen, come down to E-Pemble for all your sea potato goodness. We've got all root vegetables available in season every year. Thank you very much. E-Pemble on the corner by the bank. Please watch out for the dog shit.
Oh God. You can tell it's been a bit of right. Yes. So we are listening to
this episode. We have listened to Next Day Shipping by Adult DVD.
Yes.
Which I was going to say is available on vinyl, but I believe it's all sold out.
Oh, well, it was. It
has been available.
Has
on
been
vinyl.
available.
It's still available on their Bandcamp page.
Okay. Is there anything you'd like to say before we start?
Are there any matters arising?
I don't particularly think so. We had the ESC 250.
We did.
Which Joost Klein didn't win.
Disappointingly.
Although he was the top song of 2024. Beaten only by... Not for sneezing. Beaten only by
I was thinking if we left a gap there, I could edit that out. But that's
sorry. And Loreen Squared.
Loreen, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Boring.
We don't know what to vote for. Let's vote for the Swedes. Yeah.
Yes. But things may change. Right. I don't think there's anything. What?
No, it's all right. I was going to say something, but even by my standards, that was not appropriate.
Right. So, shall we get on with reviewing? I've forgotten who it is already. Adult DVD.
Yes. Let's have a wander through.
Yeah. Okay, so is there anything we need to know about adult DVD in particular before we begin?
If I'm honest, I don't know a massive amount
Okay.
myself. They're a relatively new indie band. I think they're from London.
Okay.
I don't have a great deal more
All
other
right,
than that.
okay. I did see a picture of them,
Yes.
and I don't mean this in a derogatory way.
I think I know where you're going here.
Okay.
Because, go on, you say what you want to say.
The word I used to describe them would be, they looked a lot more woolly than I thought they were. I thought they were going to be a bit more,
Angry?
yeah, a bit more. I was going to say stylish, but I don't mean that.
No.
Like I almost expected them to be suited and booted.
Oh,
Like a
okay.
bit more like the Hives.
Oh, right, okay.
Or, something a bit more...
Grungy, perhaps?
Just something more cohesive rather than
Yeah.
hipster.
I was surprised with... because I take it you've looked at the publicity photo they've got on their header on Facebook, which makes them look remarkably normal.
Is that the one? I've seen one where they're in like a brownish room and they're
that's the
sat
one.
on.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it looks very homely. Maybe
Yes.
that's a better way of.
Yeah.
But their music isn't.
You do get the feeling that if they'd swung the camera left slightly, you'd have seen Ed Gamble recording his Traitors podcast with various guests over the other side of the room. Yes, yeah.
That was a nice tie-in.
Yeah. So I came across them on an episode of Hugh Stevens' Roundtable in September last year,
Right.
Which was a particularly good one because they had a member of Big Special, a member of Coach Party,
Oh, nice.
and a member of CVC on there.
Okay.
All of whom are well known in this household.
Yeah.
And of course, Coach Party we've spoken about
Yes,
before.
we have. Go and find them on one of the earlier podcasts.
Yeah, back when we were really, really good now, as opposed to just quite good,
Yes.
which is what we are now. By the end of this year, we'll be utterly terrible. So,
Yes. So this is a DVD. Annie, the EP, or have they got lots?
I believe so. They have other singles on their
Right.
Bandcamp page, but I think this is the first collection.
Collective release.
Yeah, the first collection
Okay.
of songs that they've released.
So should we have a look at the songs then?
Yes, we can do. Track 1 is Do Something, which is the song that first introduced me to the band, because this is the first thing by them that I'd come across.
So do you want to do a bit first and then I'll...
So Do Something starts with a sort of a gradually building bleepy intro, which I really enjoy because I like that sort of thing that sort of starts quite minimal and then builds layers and layers and layers. It builds an awful lot around there, and this song in particular I find feels quite theatrical in how it plays out. When the vocals start, I think the first thing I thought of was the sort of original era of Kasabian, when Tom Mayan was doing the vocals there, and I can hear loads of contemporary influences in this. So bands like Yard Act and Fat Dog, and perhaps to an extent as well, Sleaford mods tend to be a touchstone for all this sort of thing. But this feels a lot more polished and a lot more developed as a sound, as opposed to the old Sleafords.
Yes, yeah.
Who do search for their own name on Blue Sky,
do
I can
they?
confirm. They're very very civil about things. So.
Okay, as long as
So what did you think?
Yeah, so I picked up on the kind of the disintegration or the integration of the start.
Yeah.
With all the bits coming in one at a time. The lyrics, especially in this song, are very punny.
Yes.
There's lots of kind of not double entendre, but there's lots of word play and double meanings, and quite, I suppose the word that might be used is witty.
Yeah, that's... Although it's not a word I'm particularly a fan of, it's something I did keep coming across all the way through this EP. It feels a very literate...
Yes.
Lyrically, at least. It all feels as though it's been put together with a proper understanding of the pictures that they're trying to paint and the detail they want to put into those pictures.
Yeah, in a weird way, it is lyrical in a literal sense, not lyrical in a painting pictures kind of sense.
Yeah.
Yes. I did feel that the chorus felt empty.
Yes.
Because there's not as much to it in reflection to the verses.
Yeah.
And the voice is very mixed in. It's very... It's kind of distorted.
Yes.
It's very fuzzy, whilst the music is quite high-pitched.
Yes.
Which I don't actually think you realise how high-pitched that is until you listen to the other songs, which are a little bit lower in the register.
There's a lot of... I don't know how you describe it, like, sort of a fidelity to the music.
Yes.
That the vocals are processed in a way that makes them jarring to that, I think, which I think is quite clever as well.
Yes. And it is the kind of, it's the list kind of song. The kind of list of things, list of actions or list of attributes.
Yes.
Which did this song in particular. I tried to think about what it made me think of. I thought it was interesting you came up with Kasabian.
Yeah.
I felt this reminded me slightly of very early Arctic Monkeys.
Oh, right, okay.
Reverend and the Makers.
Yeah.
Kind of witty, kind of chirpy chappy.
Yeah.
Kind of repartee.
Early Sheffield wave.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think Milburn were also part of that wave as well. And I think unfairly get overlooked because they're very good at doing that sort of thing as well.
So yes, we get off to quite a punchy start.
Yeah, it's quite bold as an opening stanza, this one. This gives way to track 2, which is Hot Set. The opening verse of which I think is fantastic because it paints this scene and there is not a word wasted in that. There's nothing there that's filler. The people who this put me in mind of were possibly Ian Jury or Chris Difford and Glenn Tilbrook of Squeeze, because it has that sort of... There's no punches being pulled here. There's no holding back.
Yeah.
This is grotty, and we're going to do a song about it.
Yeah.
So I really like as well. There's a very sort of playful synth line runs all through this as the sort of the lead instrument of it, which I really really liked because that all adds into the tone of it as well. Yeah,
the sound from the first song is definitely continued on into this second song, although it is less poppier in the ear in terms of like the actual instrumentation. It does also continue the clever rhymes and wordplay, although this I think has more direction to it because it's actually kind of it's kind of setting a scene for what it wants you to get towards. I like the way the music changes between the verses and the choruses.
Yeah.
The background music kind of, you can tell when the next bit's coming because there's a change in the chords.
It's the atmospheric builds to it, yeah.
The atmosphere definitely changes. I also feel like, I did say the one thing I did think is there was a bit which felt like trumpets, but I would have really have liked it to have been actual trumpets.
Okay.
To have got even more juxtaposition between bits and pieces of
yes.
I mean, obviously I think possibly their aesthetic is kind of more electronic sounding.
Yeah.
But maybe if they were to do, like a live lounge version kind of this, having some people on trumpets,
yes,
would actually be quite interesting.
Yeah. So track 3 is the Doomsday Prepper, which I think is sort of quite acutely contemporary in the story it's telling, with
yes.
sort of this picture of a paranoid divorcee.
Yes. At his mum's.
Yeah. And it's presented in such a matter-of-fact way. Look as sort of, here's this unit. What do we think of this piece?
Yeah.
So, what would you like to...
So I thought that the start of it was quite clanky and put me in mind of very early Depeche Mode.
Okay.
People are people kind of thing, which also, if you think about like the kind of Cold War kind of protect and survive almost doomsday prepper type thing. I did feel though at times this was not different enough. If it feels like in this EP, everything is apart from one song, I thought is quite similar, which is good in a way because it feels like they have a vision, they have a sound, and that's what they want to do.
Yes.
But then again, pardon me, I did feel I got to a point where I was like, I feel like I've heard this before.
Yeah.
I think I've got the point now.
Yeah.
Is there something else?
I think this is why you get a lot of bands now making EPs before they're making full-on albums. The fact that you've got this band making this EP means they are developing their own identity, and it is the sound of, I think, a band with clear contemporary influences, finding their voice and their viewpoint on the world.
Yes.
So I think it's fair to say that a lot of bands like this, when they do their early EPs, some of it can sound a bit samey, but they're sort of finding their direction, and then will branch out in a number of different directions and make a wider variety of music in the future.
Right, should we go on to 7 Foot One?
Yes. Which I think is the sort of indie power chords going on through this, and we almost have the threat of harmonies going on in the chorus as well, which I think gives us the closest thing we've got to a full-on indie pop song.
Yes, this song did start off quite different. There's almost the threat of proper instruments.
There are a lot of proper instruments going on in this one. I think
because there's such a reliance on the kind of electronic background that you kind of forget that the proper instruments are actually there.
Yes. This is
go on.
The most sort of Route 1 indie thing I think I've heard.
Yeah.
I must admit I haven't been through all of their stuff on Bandcamp, and I possibly should be going a bit deeper. but it's... Yeah, this is very much, I think, the pop song.
Yes.
Although it surprises me that they don't make more of a chorus out of it.
Yeah.
Because they've obviously thought, we'll have a bit of that. And I think there's a sort of a wondering there whether they're going to develop it into a full-on sing-along-y, shouty thing. I would quite like to see this lot live, but I don't think my ears would ever recover because my tinnitus is bad enough as it is at the moment. So whilst I would love to see how this lot work as a live act, I think I'm too old for it, frankly.
No,
yeah, I am.
say that.
Yeah, definitely.
So things I noticed about this one were the fact that they had this song felt like it was constructed slightly differently because I felt like the lines of lyrics were much longer.
Yeah.
In the first few songs, it was like short bursts, big gap, short burst, whilst this had longer lyrics followed by a longer gap. It also felt quite short. I don't know.
It's only about 2.5 minutes long.
And I also liked the expression "the shoelace express," which I've never heard of before, and had to look it up on Urban Dictionary.
Oh, is this a thing?
It just means to go up and walk somewhere.
Okay.
So you instead of getting like the night bus, you go and get the shoelace express.
So it is the modern derivation of Shank's pony.
Yes. So yes, I thought this one came in, I think, just in time. Because I think if I had another song that was like the other three, I would have gone...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know whether this might have benefited from being track 3.
Yes.
So it's sort of a
mountain.
Yeah.
Like the...
But then I also worry slightly that perhaps it was ordered like this because they wanted the sort of the first 3. Because I get the feeling that the first 3 songs are the ones that would really go popping off live. Anyway, I thought that was far too short as well.
Yes.
I could easily have coped with another minute.
Yes,
of that.
it's the Eurovision version.
Well, now, strange you should mention that, because I do have an exclusive here for you.
No way!
Yeah, I don't know who's doing Eurovision this year either. Anyway.
There's lots of rumours about.
Oh, but... no. Are any of them good?
No.
Oh. Okay. I was hoping it might be Sue Pollard. Right, track... sorry. Slight distraction there.
Right. Final song is Dogs in the Sun.
Yes, track number 5. This is another portrait which turns into a mighty party riff and a chorus.
Yes.
A chanting chorus.
Yeah.
Which I think is really, really well put together. I think behind all the electro sounds and processed vocals on this, there is a very almost classical pop song construction building this and underpinning this, which I think is really smart and really really astute, and really shows that this band understand the sort of music that they're making really well.
Yes. I wrote down, it sounds like it should be an incidental music for a science show. It's got that kind of like plinky ploppy plop, we're doing experimenting.
Yeah.
Inky, stage 3.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. One thing I have noticed throughout doing a lot of these reviews is how much I don't care about the lyrics.
Okay. You see, I think you pay more attention to the lyrics than I do.
I thought I would be much more like examining the lyrics and things like that, but actually I guess I like looking at the form rather than unless there's something in particular in the lyrics that need... I don't know whether that's because I've listened to enough Eurovision stuff where it's not been in a language I've understood that it doesn't actually matter as long as it feels
Yes, yeah. I think
suitable.
for me, with any music, the construction and the way it's put together has to work as a complete package.
Yeah.
I know there are an awful lot of people out there who get excited about sort of acoustic musicians who go out and bare their soul on stage. But for me, the similarity music-wise between each song they do, I find doesn't keep my attention for long enough, regardless of how exciting the lyrics may be. I think you've got to paint a broader picture as part of what you're doing, which is something I think this EP does pretty well.
Yeah, it's definitely a nice insight.
Yes.
And it'd be interesting to see where this would span off into, from 5 tracks into... I mean, how big are albums these days? Do people still do 10, 12, or is it...
Oh, or some acts will do 30 or 40.
What?
Yeah. Oh, the whole business of making albums these days is completely nuts. Most sort of indie bands, the sort of bands that I tend to buy albums by, normally between 9 and 14 tracks.
Okay.
So obviously we have the value merchants out there, people like Spray, who very rarely do an album under about 17 or 18 tracks. But it's normally the case that albums still look much like albums ever did. Except
they're in the ether rather than...
There are quite a few out there still on proper formats, and let us not forget, we still sell more CDs than we do vinyl records. So there is still a good demand out there for CDs as well, which I hope bands don't forget, because I think it will be a fairly long-lasting format, because depending on where they were pressed, a lot of early CDs are still perfectly usable. So
if you look after them.
Yeah. And same's true of the records as well. So, right, shall we move on?
Yes, let's move on.
So, how would you sum up the adult DVD experience?
I think it's a good start.
Yes.
As I said, it will be interesting to see how that flowers.
Yes. It's a really exciting thing, I find, to hear something like this from a band early on, because sometimes they go on and make brilliant stuff and become really popular. Other times they lose track and go wandering off all over the place. What were you thinking there?
Well, it's just that is a good segue into the next EP.
Right, okay. Have I done a good segue?
You have, accidentally.
Jolly good.
Right. So, you just said, like, some bands come in and they have this big thing and they go on forever, and some bands come in and silently go away.
Are we doing the 2/3 album sampler? That, if you've got a copy of that, I'd love to review that.
No, I have not. Now... There's a little story behind this, and I'm not going to tell you the whole story.
Okay.
Because that is something you can investigate.
Do I have to go and do my research,
no,
bro?
Well, the thing is, you can just listen to it and just come up with your own thing, or you can. So, I was brought attention to this album only a few months ago by fellow Liverpool Playhouse Youth Theatre alumnus and clangers expert Tim Worthington,
jolly good.
Who posted something about this band.
Right.
And I just saw it, thought that looks really interesting, and then found the stuff that was available, and then read into what happened.
Right.
And it's I would be so interested to know what you think of this.
Okay.
So,
was this a band you had any knowledge
I
of before
did not know diddly squat
Okay.
until a couple of months ago. So basically, they just, I don't know, somebody must have decided that they were the best thing nobody knew about.
Right.
Because at the end of last year, they put together an album of their stuff and whacked it on Spotify.
Right.
And that seems to have like got everyone, oh, do you remember them? Like,
Okay.
So,
I'm curious as to know as to whether this is anyone I've heard of. So
now, this EP, I don't think was an EP at the time. I think they've put it together as a bit of a mini album so that you can get into it, so that you can then listen to I think the album that they've put together has got 22 songs on Spotify.
Right, okay.
Which is an amalgamation of all their things that they did over the 2 years that they were around.
Am I allowed to know what 2 years these were?
I think it's 86 to 88.
Oh, right, okay.
So, from a while back.
Yes, yeah.
So, this is apparently the best boy band people have never ever known about, called Boys Wonder.
Boys Wonder?
Boys Wonder, as in lots of boys wonder.
Okay.
And they have got, on Spotify, there is an EP called Shine on Me.
Shine.
Which has got 5 songs on it.
Okay.
And the songs are very reminiscent of everything that they did.
Okay.
But I would love to know what you think about this, because it kind of blew my mind slightly. Not necessarily always in a good way, but it's a very interesting story, and I feel like I'd like to tell it.
Okay. I'm looking forward to this. This sounds really interesting. So
so that's Boys Wonder, and the EP is called Shine on Me, and you can find that on Spotify if you want to join in the fun.
Okie doke.
Right, should we go and have some sleep?
Yeah, can I say something controversial?
Go on.
I think Sally Cinnamon by the Stone Roses is an absolute dirge.
It's not particularly interesting in the songbook of the Stone Roses.
I don't understand why so many people seem to revere it as one of the greatest songs they've ever heard.
Possibly because it's inoffensive.
It's bland.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It's like a dog drinking out of the toilet.
There is no
really.
Cinnamon.
No,
it's more Sally Vanilla.
I think it's more Sally Plain Flower.
Yeah.
Right, there we go. You see, if this was a Eurovision podcast, I'd be using Sally Plain Flower as the title for this podcast. But
next on round table, Sally Plain Flower with Dredge.
Coming up next. No, you can't. You've got to do the Hugh Stevens. You've got to do the Hugh Stevens voice now. You've got Sally Plain Flower coming on. I think Elke, you're a big fan of them, aren't you? Right. Have I just alienated our Welsh listener?
No.
Okay.
Right.
I'll take your word for it.
We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you for joining us.
Bye.